The First World War had a major impact on Australian league football, as it did on most Australians. The war profoundly affected the history of Australian rules football from the years of 1915 to 1918, previously known as the Victorian Football League. Several hundreds of football players were encouraged to represent the Australian Army who were at war overseas, which sadly resulted in many unfortunate deaths. In the many years since 1918, when World War I was declared over, the Australian Football League Association have gathered records of the countless VFL players that had died during their service and have acknowledged an astonishing figure of 104 men that lost their lives at the First World War. Whilst the impact of World War I had a strong impact on the game of Australian rules, the Victorian Football League remained alive during the years of 1915 to 1918, but had many restrictions. In the season of 1915, the VFL executives held a meeting regarding the topic of whether or not to discontinue the approaching season. The meeting resulted in a favourable vote to continue play, with the administration electing 13 votes to 4. The season commenced on the 24th of April 1915, which was the eve of the iconic day in Australian history where the Australian soldiers landed in Gallipoli. Although the season went through, the war did have an effect on team numbers. The VFL lost the team University, who represented Melbourne Uni, as they were suffering financially from the war and also had a shortage of players who were called to enrol in World War I. Not only did the 1915 season lose a team, but they also lost many enthusiasts who would usually go to the games and support their lovable teams. Society's attitude also changed towards the continuation of the sport during the war, as many thought fighting for your country and king was far more important than winning a football game. The people of Australia believed sport should remain on hold while the war took place in respect for the soldiers, and didn't want to support football as they believed it was wrong to distract themselves from what was really happening in the world. There was a strong divide between people who believed sport was a positive outlet from the war and those who strongly opposed. Patriotic Australians confronted football supporters and questioned why men who stayed at home were rewarded with the honour of playing sport when their servicemen were dying. As Australia had only been introduced to the war in 1915, the Victorian Government Recruiting Committee started to target sportsmen to join their fellow mates to fight for Australia. Their intention of enlisting athletes was drawn from the idea that the qualities they obtain, such as endurance, toughness, physical strength, aggression and teamwork, were all seen to be very important assets of soldiers. The government began to release propaganda posters which attempted to influence footballers to enlist. The first Australian recruitment poster released was of an image of Jacka, a famous Australian boxer who obtained a legendary status during the time of the war. On the outside of Jacka's figure, fit and strong men playing typical Australian sports, particularly football, surrounded him. It was created to make sportsmen feel as if they had to stand up and help their country. Another propaganda image again targets professional sportsmen, specifically VFL players. It shows an Australian soldier standing over his mate's dead body. The caption, "When will they come?", which is accompanied with an image of a football game being played at the MCG, aims to directly guilt professional football players to stop playing and go over to help their mates fight. By 1916, only 4 VFL clubs remained in the league, compared to 10 the season before. The teams remaining were Carlton, Collingwood, Richmond and Fitzroy. The withdrawal of other clubs was mainly due to player shortages, as many succumbed to enlisting in the war, and also because of Australian patriotism. The 1916 season saw Fitzroy win both the Wooden Spoon and Grand Final in the same year. They finished 4th and made it to the Grand Final to take victory in front of a disappointing crowd of 21,000 at the MCG. Come 1918, the VFL had regained another 4 teams, including St Kilda. St Kilda Football Club made the conscious decision to change their jumper colours, which were originally red, white and black, as they resembled the colour of the German Empire flag of World War I, who were enemies of Australia's allies in the First World War. Their new jumper consisted of red, black and yellow, which many believed that it was influenced by the ally Australia had with Belgium, where several St Kilda players were serving. The club has since changed back to red, black and white after World War I was at completion, and our association with Germany became stronger. As we can see, World War I strongly affected Australian rules football. Even in modern day football, we still see the strong connection between the war and football. specifically through the traditional match between Collingwood and Essendon on Anzac Day. The Anzac Day clash has become an opportunity for Australians and football fans to reflect on what our soldiers did for our country. It has become a symbol of remembrance.